2022 is almost over, which means it's time for me to share with you what I think were the very best iOS music making apps of the year. And what a year it was. It really felt like iOS music making came into its own this year, with smaller indie developers releasing some of their best work and several desktop developers coming over to the dark side and porting their plugins over to the iOS platform too. It hasn't made my job any easier. Trying to come up with a concise list of the apps I really loved this year was almost impossible. But I think I've pretty much got there. And as always, if there's anything you think I've missed or any picks you don't agree with, make sure and sound off in the comments. Nicely, though, it is Christmas after all. Alright, in no particular order, here are my favourite iOS music making apps of 2022. Baby Audio wetted our collective whistles at the start of the year when they released iOS versions of their two desktop freebies, Magic Switch and Magic Dice. They followed that up a few months later with a one-to-one port of their fantastic desktop reverb plugin, Crystalline. Crystalline features a brilliant intuitive user interface that you'd swear, if you didn't know any better, was built around a touch interface. And more importantly, the sounds you can get from this thing are just brilliant. One of the very best reverb apps on iOS and a confident first release from Baby Audio, who I hope we'll hear a lot more from in 2023. Audio Modern are renowned for creating some of the most exciting and interesting plugins on the market. Their latest release, LoopMix, is perhaps Audio Modern's most intriguing offering to date. Billed as a creative loop remixer, LoopMix allows you to quickly and easily create glitchy, randomized remixes out of up to 6 loops. I've always appreciated that Audio Modern's apps allow users to just jump right in and create some really cool sounds at the touch of a button, while simultaneously providing more in-depth controls for the more technically minded. LoopMix strikes this balance exceptionally well. LoopMix really is as creative a plugin as you'll ever use. What's more, it's ridiculously addictive and great fun to mess around with. Be warned though, you'll likely lose hours of your life tinkering away with it. "2022 was the year that saw the release of some of the most fully featured iOS synth apps ever. From Yonak's superb Trooper synth to Blease's Megalith, an incredibly deep amalgamation of pretty much every synth and effect app they've ever released up to this point, virtual ivory ticklers have been able to have their cake and eat it this year. Two synth apps that stood out to me in 2022 weren't perhaps the most powerful per se, but they were the ones that gave users the most interesting sounds to work with. A collaboration with renowned producer / Berklee College of Music lecturer Brian Funk, and built on a brand new version of AudioKit's open source codebase, VHS Synth, released back in May, was a revelation. There are over 120 sounds on offer here, all plucked from Mr. Funk's originally Ableton-only 80s VHS synths and VCR Wave instrument packs. They were created by recording samples from various analog synths like the Prophet 6, Novation Base Station, and Korg Volca FM onto VHS tapes and then exporting them. The secret sauce here is that VHS Synth allows you to blend any two of these sounds together, and these sounds are brilliant. This ended up being one of the best apps that AudioKit have released in ages, and personally, I bloody loved it. The other synth app that I absolutely fell in love with this year was Overdrive Synth from MobiPixel. What does a synthesizer sound like through an overdrive pedal? That was the question asked by Nick Culbertson, aka MobiPixel, in perhaps the year's best bit of word of mouth marketing. The answer? Really, really cool. To create Overdrive Synth, in a nutshell, Nick essentially reamped the sounds of many classic synthesizers using a variety of different overdrive pedals. He then took those sounds, wrapped them up in a lovely looking app built using the open sourced AudioKit framework, and then unleashed it onto the iOS App Store. And that's it. The sounds he's created here, though, are nothing short of phenomenal. Not only that, Nick has been incredibly open to feedback from users, and in fact completely changed the way that the AUV3 version of the app behaves based on customer feedback. A fantastic app, a fantastic developer, and I really can't wait to see what MobiPixel comes up with next. Pure Piano is my favourite piano app on iOS. Suck it, Ravenscroft lovers. So when Hamburg-based E-Instruments released Pure Upright this year, I was beyond excited. Imagine my surprise when I found a more refined, reserved piano sound waiting for me in the app itself. Pure Upright is everything that Pure Piano is, except instead of emulating the sound of a studio grand piano, you can now play a nigh-on perfect recreation of an upright piano instead. Perfect for those working in hip-hop or pop genres, or pretty much anyone else who loves a punchier piano sound. Pure Upright has all of the editing options of its predecessor, meaning you can either let the app's presets do the work for you, or fine-tune your piano sounds to your pernickety heart's content. It sounds fantastic, and while I'm no accomplished pianist myself, I luckily know a man who is. Thomas Gillane is an incredible musician, accomplished pianist, unlike me, and was kind enough to let me use some of the footage that he created when he first got his hands on Pure Upright. Not only that, he's allowed me to share a wee snippet of his latest track, which uses upright piano in its composition and recording. Thomas really makes this incredible app sing. Check it out. Thanks again to Thomas for letting me use some of his footage there. You'll find links in the description to both his YouTube channel and to where you can find his music. Go and have a listen. Another desktop plugin producer that made the leap onto iOS in 2022 is Unfiltered Audio, who held a very generous public beta for 5 of its plugins earlier this year. To say the iOS music making community were excited about these apps when they were announced would be an understatement. And the fact that when Unfiltered Audio did release them, they did so at an incredibly reasonable price made the release all the sweeter. Look, all 5 of the apps that Unfiltered Audio have released so far are brilliant. Bass Mint is excellent for adding some extra oomph to pretty much any bass sound, and Needlepoint is a great way to add some vinyl flavour to your sounds. For me though, Silo is the best of the bunch. A properly unique granular reverb that can utterly transform any sound that you apply it to. Preset surfers will love the dozens of patches on offer, and the in-depth fiddlers among you will love tinkering with Silo's slick and easy-to-use UI. Silo breaks up your incoming sounds into grains, incredibly short snippets of audio, which can then be processed individually. You're able to adjust the size, shape, speed, pitch, and spread of these grains, reverse them, and process them separately to create novel space and reverb effects. There isn't anything else quite like Silo on iOS. It's ridiculously good fun to use, sounds great, and I just really highly recommend it. Just sneaking in at the end here is Fluss. Floos? Floos. Floos? Floos. I have... whatever. A mind-bogglingly superb collaboration between Bramboss and experimental electronic music producer Heinbach? Heinbach.
Anyway, lovely to have you. And of course, our next guest, well, he doesn't need he needs no introduction. We have Heinbach is here for the first time. Live from
Heinbach. Floos is mental and weird and amazing. In a nutshell, it's a granular synthesizer and effects processor, but one that allows users to manipulate tiny grains of audio in a range of complex ways. You can bring in your own wave files and mangle them up with Floos's unique set of controls, or you can make use of its extensive library of presets crafted by Heinbach himself. Whether you're into creating weird, glitchy electro or rolling ambient soundscapes, Floos will add a unique bit of spice to your sounds. It's mad, and I love it. Alright, those are my favourite iOS music making apps of 2022. I can almost guarantee that you probably didn't agree with all of those picks, so please leave your comment down below and let me know just how wrong I am and why Drambo should be the best app of the year every year for some reason. And if you're on the lookout for even more tasty app goodness, then watch this video next.